I'm Scott, 31, and 2 years ago I walked out of my own anniversary party because my sister hijacked it, and my parents cheered her on. It was supposed to be a surprise. A gift, a gesture. Dress nice. Mom had texted. Romantic dinner for your first anniversary. You'll love it. And I did. For about 30 seconds. Julia, my wife, had worked 12 hours straight and still showed up to my swim clinic that morning just to watch my kids crush their flip turns. I'd run drills with sunscreen in my eyes and zero energy in the tank, but I floated through the day on adrenaline because, for once, it felt like maybe my family was showing up for me. The venue was gorgeous. Candlelight, string quartet, fairy lights strung like magic. And the sign. An easel by the door in gold calligraphy. M+G, celebrating 5 magical years. Again. My stomach dropped. Julia blinked. M and G? Mallory and Greg. Mom came out smiling like this was a scene she'd directed. Surprise! She sang, bracelets clinking. Isn't it romantic? My hand gripped Julia's just a little tighter. This was supposed to be for us. Mom tilted her head like I was the slow one in kindergarten. We decided to combine the celebrations. Share the moment. Nobody feels left out. Except us, Julia muttered. I didn't laugh. Dad clapped me on the shoulder like he was sealing a business deal. It's one night, buddy. Let your sister have her moment. It's our moment, I said. Literally. Then out she came. Mallory, in a dress that probably cost more than our rent, swishing like she was walking a bridal runway. Greg followed behind her with the confident, puffed-up posture of a man who calls himself a disruptor but can't boil pasta. Mallory air-kissed my cheek. Redoing our 5th. The first time didn't feel right, so round 2, she said, like it was completely normal to reclaim someone else's milestone. They'd taken the garden. The quartet. The macarons. Don't touch the tower, Mallory warned. It's part of the aesthetic. I couldn't even find my name on a table. The worst part wasn't the hijack. It wasn't even the smug way she toasted. To real love, with eyes full of herself. It was the moment Mom leaned in and whispered, sweet and sharp. Don't ruin this for your sister, Scott. I set my glass down. Quiet. Controlled. I looked at Julia. She raised an eyebrow. I nodded. We left. No scene. No tears. Just a milkshake at a diner 2 blocks away and the quietest breath of air I'd taken in years. She tapped our wedding rings together and said, Let's stop auditioning for people who don't clap. And I agreed. But I didn't know then that walking out of that party was just the first step toward burning the entire family script down, one quiet, clean no at a time. Growing up, I thought love meant being needed. Not hugged. Not celebrated. Just needed. If something broke, I fixed it. If someone cried, I passed them a glass of water and sat nearby, not too close, not too far, just present. The dependable one. The good son. The anchor. That's what my place was. But after the anniversary ambush, I started paying attention to all the little unpaid invoices in my brain. The time I covered the water bill at 17. The cleats I bought myself from the clearance rack because Mallory needed dance shoes now. The joint account Mom added me to, just in case, which got overdrawn 5 times and came with 0 apologies. I kept a mental list. Then a folder. Then actual printouts. Julia called it my boring armor. I called it receipts. It wasn't that I didn't want to help my family. I did. I loved helping. But I had this itch in my chest, like maybe I was being applauded for setting myself on fire just to keep everyone else warm. The next ask came 1 week after the bistro party. A text from Mallory. Greg's truck blew a gasket. Need a float. Family rate? No interest, smiley face. I didn't reply right away. 5 minutes later, Mom chimed in. You know she's struggling. Don't make her ask twice. I showed Julia. She didn't say anything at first. Just walked to the sink, washed an apple, dried it very carefully, then said, Do you want to help her? I want them to stop expecting me to. I said. Then say no. I texted back, Can't help this time. Sorry. The silence afterward was heavy. Like holding your breath during a thunderstorm. Dad eventually texted. Don't punish us because you married someone with a stable job. I laughed out loud. First time I had in days. I showed Julia, and she just whispered, "Projection's a hell of a drug." It wasn't a dramatic fallout. It was slow erosion. I said no again. And again. No, I'm not paying for the new candle labels. No, I'm not covering Dad's copay. No, I'm not your plan B. And I started to feel lighter. Then the fence check came. An HOA fine for a variance request I'd never made. Turns out, Mom had forged my name on an old check from a closed account. She said it was a mistake. That she was just speeding things up. That it was just ink. Julia sat with me on the couch that night while I stared at the bounced check. "You can walk away," she said. "From the expectations. Not the people. But the script." I was still scared. Scared that if I stopped being useful, I'd stop being loved. Then a thought hit me so hard I said it out loud before I could stop it. What if I'd been useful for so long, they don't even remember how to love me without a receipt attached? Julia took my hand. "Then it's time to find out." The family roast invitation came in the form of a group text. Sunday at 5. Family dinner. Clean slate. Sparkles, sparkles, sparkles. 3 sparkles. That was Mom's version of diplomacy. Julia looked over my shoulder at the message. "That's a trap," she said, biting into a carrot like it owed her money. I knew it was. But I was tired of dancing around it. I wanted to look the trap in the eye. I wanted to stop being scared of being the one who ruined the mood. I wanted to test my new spine in the wild. So we went. The house was full. Aunt Carol, Uncle Steve, Cousin Ellie, 2 random neighbors who just happened to drop by, which in my family is code for audience. Dad was carving the roasts like he was hosting a cooking segment. Mallory swanned in 20 minutes late in another white dress, like bridal cosplay was a personality trait. Greg poured wine like he was being graded on it. The table had place cards. Mine said Scott, our rock, next to a little anchor clip art. Julia squeezed my knee under the table. Then Mom stood up, folder in hand. "We've been thinking about how to make things more fair," she said, flipping it open like a spreadsheet was a love letter. "We're launching a family fund. Pooling resources, proportional contributions. No one suffers alone." She turned the folder toward me. Mortgage payments. Utility arrears. Dad's surgery estimate. Mallory's candle business inventory. A consolidation loan. Greg's bridge loan. All neatly categorized. All with one name in the top contributor column, Scott. My mouth went dry. Julia was already watching me like she'd been waiting for this moment for months. I took the folder. I set it down. Then I said calmly, "No." Like I was declining an hors d'oeuvre. No heat. No guilt. Just air. The silence cracked like ice. "You didn't even read it," Mallory snapped. "I don't need to," I said. Dad's jaw clenched. "Watch your tone in my house." Tone always means stop setting boundaries. Julia touched my elbow. Not a warning. A green light. So I pulled out my own folder. The one I'd started 6 months ago. The one labeled just this once. I set my phone on the table, screen up. Printed transfers. Screenshots of texts. 12 years of being the fallback. I've covered electric water copays. A motel when Greg forgot his wallet. Your surprise bathroom renovation. Mallory's emergency label run. The brunch that never got paid for. Dad's urgent care. A tire. Another tire. A toe. Aunt Carol let out a tiny gasp. The neighbors looked like they wished they'd eaten earlier and left. Mom crossed her arms. Family doesn't itemize. Family doesn't forge signatures, I replied. Greg leaned back. You think you're a saint because you teach kids to float? Nobody owes you a trophy, coach. I'm not asking for a trophy. I'm saying no. Mallory's voice sharpened. You can't do this. I'm relaunching in the spring. You need to learn, I said, that I'm not your safety net. And then Dad stood. If you walk out that door, he said slowly, you don't walk back in. Julia stood too. Calm as a bomb. We'll send a change of address, she said. The table didn't move. I gathered the papers, took my phone, held Julia's hand. Mom's voice was thin behind me. Ungrateful boy. I paused, turned back, looked her in the eye. I'm a grown man, and I finally know where my money goes. Then we walked out. No yelling, no slamming, just freedom in the shape of leaving. The first week of no contact felt like pulling the plug on a machine I didn't realize had been buzzing in the background for my entire life. There was no quiet, just phantom noise, pings I didn't check, group texts I left unread, guilt that hovered in the doorway like smoke after a kitchen fire. Julia said, "It's okay if you miss them and still want distance." I said, "I don't even know what I miss. Them? Or the version of me they wanted me to be?" She handed me pancakes and said, "Either way, you're allowed to rest." And I did. For the first time in years, I actually rested. I coached. I launched a Saturday swim clinic that sold out in 48 hours. I got hugs from parents who said things like, "You got my kid to float and laugh in the same lesson." I kept a secret fund for kids who couldn't afford lessons and named it after Julia's grandmother, who once told her, "Everyone deserves to float." A local sports shop offered to sponsor me. I asked for discounted goggles and swim caps for scholarship kids instead. They said yes and threw in some extra towels. Just because. The second month, the smear campaign began. Screenshots arrived from my cousin Ellie, who quietly defected like a spy with a conscience. Mom was saying I'd abandoned them, that I'd made her pawn her wedding ring to pay for Dad's surgery. Mallory posted cryptic Instagram stories. "Some people will always think boundaries mean betrayal." Greg went full TikTok drama king with videos about entitled siblings who weaponize spreadsheets. I muted them all. I kept coaching. I kept coming home to a small apartment that suddenly felt enormous. I kept breathing without the weight of someone else's overdue bill on my chest. Then one day Julia said, "Let's tour a place." And I said, "Like a new apartment?" She said, "Like a house." The third place we saw had a maple tree out front that dropped leaves like golden confetti. The front door stuck unless you swore at it. The kitchen window faced east. We applied the next day. Got approved. I cried a little in the parking lot of the hardware store. We painted the second bedroom green. We didn't call it a nursery. But we bought a rocking chair. Just in case. And I didn't tell anyone. Because it was ours. Because it was safe. Because it was the first place I'd lived where my name didn't come with a price tag attached. Then came the swim meet. A fundraiser relay with medals and popsicles and a giant inflatable turtle that deflated halfway through the butterfly heat. My kids swam their hearts out. Parents cheered for kids that weren't even theirs. I high-fived so many little wet hands that I smelled like pool chemicals and accomplishment for days. We raised more than our goal. The local paper ran a story called "Coach Scott Keeps Kids Afloat." Someone taped it to the pool door with a smiley face sticker. And just as I was handing out medals to a kid who used to cry at the deep end, I heard it. A voice, shrill and familiar. "Oh look!" it called out. "Coach Hero saves the day again." Mallory. In white. Because of course. Behind her? Greg. Behind them? My mother. Standing just past the pool gate, clutching her purse like a hostage negotiator. My stomach dropped. Not from fear. From certainty. Because I knew what this was. It wasn't a visit. It was a scene. And I was about to choose whether to play my part, or end the show. There's a particular kind of hush that falls over a swim deck when drama walks in wearing heels. Mallory strutted past the bleachers like she was late for her own runway show. Greg hung back by the fence, hands in his pockets, sunglasses on like he was famous and tired of it. My mother, she just stood there, looking older and smaller than I remembered, but trying to pretend this was a casual drop-in. Julia moved before I did. She stepped forward, calm and steady, her nurse voice in full command. "You're not allowed on deck," she said. "Safety rules." Mallory rolled her eyes. "Are you serious right now?" "Yes," Julia replied. "There are kids here. This isn't a stage." "Oh, I think it is," Mallory said, lifting her phone and hitting record. Since you've made yourself into such a hero, Scott. Since you left Mom to pawn her wedding ring for Dad's surgery. Since you've told everyone we're villains and you're Saint Chlorine. Every parent within earshot froze. A few started herding their kids toward the snack table. One lifeguard whispered, "Should I call someone?" I raised my whistle to my lips and blew. One long, sharp note. 5-minute break! I shouted. Hydrate and shade. Like magic, the pool emptied. The deck cleared. Only us and our history left, steaming under the sun. Mallory pointed her phone at me. "Say it to the internet, coach. Say you turned your back while your father limped." I met her eyes. Then turned to Mom. "What ring?" Mom looked down at her shoes. Julia answered for her, voice quiet but sharp. "She pawned it 3 years ago. After you already bought it back once." I turned back to my sister. "You don't want the truth. You want the performance. You want people to watch you flail and think it's dancing." Greg snorted. "You owe us." I laughed. "I don't owe you a cent. You owe everyone an apology." Mallory's lips curled. "You don't get to be happy without us. That's what this is really about." Julia stepped closer. "No, that's what you can't handle. The idea that he can be okay without being your fallback plan." Mom's voice was small. "Was it really that much?" I didn't list the receipts. Not again. I just nodded. Slowly. Quietly. Let her sit with it. Something cracked in her expression, guilt, maybe. Or the first flicker of perspective. Then Mallory, desperate to snatch the spotlight back, turned to her. "Come on. Let's go. We don't have to stay where we're not worshipped." But Mom didn't move. She looked at the shallow end, where kids were pouring water from cup to cup like little scientists, and she whispered, "I need a chair." We sat her down in the shade. I brought her a plastic cup of water with 2 lemon slices. She held it like a confession. "Your father should have told me no," she said. Then added, barely audible, "I should have told her no." I nodded. "You still can." She didn't look at me. But she nodded too. Greg tried one more time. "You seriously letting him win?" Mom's reply was soft. "We're not staying. But we're not going with you." Mallory stared at her like she'd been slapped. She didn't scream. She just turned and walked away. Heels clacking. Phone still recording nothing that mattered. Greg followed. Muttering. The gate clicked shut. And it was over. The pool slowly refilled with life like nothing had happened. Laughter, splashes, noodle sword fights. The air rebalanced itself. Julia leaned against the fence, arms crossed, watching me like she was ready to catch me if I collapsed. I didn't. I knelt next to Mom in the shade. Her hand still cradled the cup like it might break if she let go. "I don't know how to come back from this," she said. "You don't have to come back," I told her. "You just have to stop going in the wrong direction." She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She just nodded. A real one. Not performative. Not filtered through guilt. Just, solid. We helped her to her feet. Julia brought her a granola bar and a chair cushion because that's how she loves people, quietly and fully. Mom stayed through the medals. She even clapped when one little girl shouted, "Coach Scott's the best!" So loud I turned red. Later, we drove her home. No drama. No lectures. No folder of debt. Just air conditioning, soft music, and a bag of leftover popsicles in the backseat because Julia thinks every day should end with a treat. The fallout didn't explode like a firework. It settled like dust. Half the extended family ghosted me. The other half sent weird lowercase texts at night, "Hey, just checking in." I think I get it now. Aunt Carol dropped off a bundt cake with a note that said, "Sorry for staying quiet so long." Cousin Ellie texted, "I'm team boundaries now. Don't tell my mom." Nate, my little brother, sent a picture from an airport lounge. A dog sleeping on his foot. Captioned, "Proud of you, man." Took me way too long to say it. Dad didn't text. But a week later, he mailed us a photo of his new knee brace with the word RoboCop written in Sharpie and a wobbly smiley face drawn underneath. We sent him back a physical therapy YouTube link and a thumbs up. No speech. No begging. Just, okay. At home, we rake leaves. Fix the front step. Julia ordered blackout curtains for the nursery. Yes, we were calling it that now. I bought a little bookshelf and filled it with picture books and board books and one copy of Swim Team Captain Scott drawn by a 6-year-old with gold crayon. We made pancakes on Saturdays. We didn't invite anyone. And it was enough. Then one day, in the middle of Saturday clinic, a new parent approached me by the bleachers, holding a folded newspaper. "You're the coach in the article, right?" I blinked. "What article?" She handed it to me. "Local hero helps kids float in more ways than one." There was my face. Mid-whistle. Arm extended. A little girl beaming behind me like she just conquered Everest. "I just wanted to say thank you," the woman said. "My son used to cry at the edge. Now he runs in." I swallowed hard. "He did the work." She smiled. "But you made him believe he could." That night, we taped the article to our fridge. Next to it? A dolphin magnet from a scholarship kid named Leo, who gave it to me after I taught him to do a back float without grabbing my neck like a koala. Julia added a sticky note that read, "Float when you're tired. Rest is still progress." The house was small, but every corner whispered, "You're allowed to be whole here." No debt ledger. No scorekeeping. Just love. On purpose. And yet a part of me knew Mallory wasn't done. Because people like her don't lose quietly. And I wasn't scared. But I was ready.